Yo, what's up? Welcome inside the opening line. Corey and Benny coming at you on a Taco Tuesday. It is officially week 1 of the NFL season. This is a regular NFL week. Practices start tomorrow, Benny. It's time to start getting ready for the big weekend coming up with the kickoff on Thursday nights and then what we get into for Saturday and Sunday.
Yeah, I mean, I spent most of last night, this is a tough time of year for me because I'm kind of splitting my time between baseball and football. So spent most of last night looking at some football stuff. Got mostly baseball stuff to do today, but, man, I'm getting excited here, Corey. This is the best time of year for fantasy. You know, basketball's fun, baseball's fun, but football's where the money's at.
No, football is the big kahuna in this industry, obviously, when it comes to sports in general. NFL is what rules, you know what I'm saying? And that's why I always say that a work stoppage for the NFL in 2 years from now would be bad business because the NBA is on its heels. But right now, it is all about the National Football League. All right, Benny, you want to start with this weekend slate for DFS, or do you want to talk about some stuff going down Thursday night between the Bears and the Packers?
It's up to you, whatever you want to do. I would prefer the weekend slate, to be honest, because that's really where most people are going to be playing, right? Like, that's the main slate. That's where all the big money is. That's where, Thursday night's going to be fun. But for DFS, I mean, it's a one-game showdown slate. Like, not really as exciting.
All right, so now when we go and we head around to the weekend, a couple of the higher point total games that's going to be played on Sundays, of course, it involves the Kansas City Chiefs. They're coming in, their total's sitting at 52.5 as they go down to Jacksonville to take on the Jaguars, Benny. My guess is with that Chiefs offense, this is one of the games that you're going to target.
Yeah, I mean, this is probably going to be one of the places a lot of the chalk comes from this weekend, right? I mean, it's only like a 3.5 point spread too, so it's not. Yeah, it's not a big number right now. I mean, the Chiefs are on the road; they're going down to Jacksonville. Pat Mahomes is obviously going to be somebody that a lot of people play. Easier to fit him in on DraftKings than it is on FanDuel. The way they price quarterbacks on DraftKings, it's a little more bunched together. So, paying up a little bit for the higher price guy with the higher ceiling, which, Mahomes, let's face it. I mean, this is why he's the number 1 quarterback drafted in season long, right? He's got the highest ceiling of anybody out there. He's definitely going to be in play. I think Tyreek Hill's going to be in play. I think Travis Kelce's going to be in play. I think Damian Williams is going to go under-owned, but he's an interesting play too. Honestly, though, the best play in this game, Corey, is on the other side.
I was going to say that a play in this game, in my opinion, I don't think it would be Nick Foles, but D.D. Westbrook seems like somebody who could have a game as the Jacksonville Jaguars are trying to fight back.
Yeah, you're looking at a number 1 receiver on a team that's probably going to be trailing. And let's face it, I mean, the Chiefs' defense is not as bad as they look on paper. When you're up by 2 touchdowns for most of the game, starting in the first half and going all the way through, teams just are forced to abandon the run against you, and they just have to throw the ball. D.D. Westbrook is the number 1 receiver for, the Jacksonville Jaguars right now. He's under $5,000 on DraftKings. He's under $6,000 on FanDuel. He is legitimately the best value at the wide receiver position on the slate this week. Probably going to end up as one of the highest owned wide receivers, definitely going to be chalk. But again, I don't think it's bad chalk. I mean, I think this is a guy who is in line for, maybe 8 to 10 targets in this game. This is probably going to be one of the games where he sees more targets than he normally does because they're going to be running a fast-paced offense. They're going to be, probably trailing, like I said. So there's going to be a lot more plays in this game. D.D. Westbrook is very likely to be the highest owned receiver week 1 in DFS.
There you go. That's interesting stuff right there. When you look at that Jacksonville Jaguar running game, the point spread indicates that they should be in it, sitting here at 3.5. It does kind of feel like a little trappy to me. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So that you could see some Leonard Fournette action too, though, right?
I'm not going to be touching Leonard Fournette in this situation. Okay. I don't think it's crazy if you're doing it as part of like a big game stack where you're putting a bunch of stuff in there. But what we really like for running backs, right? Like, the 2 times where running backs tend to outperform is when they're at home, which Leonard Fournette is here, but when they're actually home favorites, right? Because when you're a home favorite, you figure you're going to have a lead at some point. You're going to be running the clock out. That's when we see these guys get the 15 to 20 carries. That's when they get the 100-yard bonus. That's when they usually wind up scoring more touchdowns. So home favorites is definitely something that you want to target running backs for. But there's a lot of other guys in that same kind of price range as Leonard Fournette that are just much better plays this week. Guys that are home favorites. You know, I mean, you got
Dalvin Cook comes to mind.
That is definitely one of them. Nick Chubb is another one. Chris Carson is another one. You know, all those three guys are in that same range right there. All those guys are in games where their team is expected to win by, 6 to 10 points. You know, a lot of them are home there. They're going to be, guys that are going to be getting the rock a lot. So when you look at Leonard Fournette, you got to – in DFS, you really got to look at tiers, right? So, like, you're looking at the high-price tier. You're looking at the mid-price tier. A lot of these guys are in the mid-price tier that we're talking about here. Dalvin Cook, Nick Chubb, Chris Carson. They're all like $5,600 to like $7,000 on DraftKings. They're like a little below $8,000, like $6,000 to $8,000 on FanDuel. That's a good place for you to kind of look at some of these guys this week. And I think those are some of the top options there. And I like all those guys more than I like Leonard Fournette this week. So I'd rather have Chubb. I'd rather have Cook. I'd rather have Carson if you're going in that range.
What about Ezekiel Elliott?
So here's the thing with Ezekiel Elliott. Right now, again, I know they're talking again, so we got to see what happens. If Ezekiel Elliott doesn't sign, Tony Pollard is one of the best plays on the weekend. Tony Pollard is going to wind up 60-70% chalk on the weekend because he's favored. He's at home. He's running behind the best offensive line in the league. He's going to get his 15 to 20 touches, and he's $4,600. $4,600 on DraftKings, I think $5,200 on FanDuel. So this is a guy who, as of right now, a lot of people who made lineups probably have Tony Pollard sitting in their lineup right now. If you're playing on DraftKings where you have, or any site that has late swap, he's probably the guy sitting in your flex because it's one of the latest games of the weekend. I think it's a 4:00 game over in Dallas.
4:25 start in Jerry World.
Yeah. So right now, Pollard should be on everybody's lineups right now. If Ezekiel Elliott signs, then obviously Pollard is no longer one of the best plays in the weekend because you got to think that Zeke's going to step in there. Now, the difference between Zeke and Pollard, like I would still expect a good game out of Zeke, but now you're paying, top price. Like Zeke is the $9,000 running back. Zeke is the top of the heap thing. And it's not a bad thing either because the guys that tend to be the top priced running backs, they actually hit their value a lot more often than you would consider, even though their price is really, really high. I mean, the one thing that we do know about daily fantasy, especially with the running back position, is touches is what matters, right? Like you can't predict who's going to have the best game or who's going to have a good game. But if you worry about who's going to get the most touches, more likely than not, you're going to wind up with the guys who are the high scorers, which is why a guy like Tony Pollard would be such a great play because if there's no Zeke there, there's no way you can predict this guy not getting 15 touches at a minimum, and it could be as many as 20 or more. With Zeke in there, you're probably going to expect the same amount of touches, but the difference is you're paying literally twice as much. Like Zeke is a $9,000 running back. Pollard is a $4,500, $4,600 running back. So Zeke would still be a very good play, and I would definitely want to have some exposure to him in that situation, but he's not as great a play as Pollard just because when you look at the price, for the price that you're getting versus the number of touches that you're getting, Pollard is like a slam dunk. Like put it this way, if Zeke doesn't play, Pollard's on 100% of my lineups on both sides.
Wow, 100% exposure to Tony Pollard if Ezekiel Elliott does not get in. That's interesting. All right, so when you look at the rest of the slate, where do we stand with the quarterback position? What are we trying to do with the quarterbacks this weekend?
You want to look at teams that are going to be in high-scoring games, right? Like, that's obviously the way that it goes. One of the guys that I love, and I mean, we've talked about him all preseason, is Jameis Winston.
Mm-hmm.
I think Jameis Winston's in a great spot here. Listen, that running game sucked last year. So what did they do in the offseason? Nothing. So there's no way that you could sit here and say, well, the running game's going to be so much better this year that they're not going to throw the ball as much. That's ridiculous. They're in a game that's a pick 'em that should go back and forth against San Francisco. This is a team that, may even play at a faster pace right now under Arians. They may be a team that throws the ball even more than they did last year. I think Winston's actually like the second or third most expensive quarterback on DraftKings this week. So,
wow.
The algorithms agree with me that, this is a guy that's in a great spot here. They got, two of the better pass-catching wide receivers on the outside in Godwin and Mike Evans. They got a great tight end in O.J. Howard there. This is going to be a team that's going to put up some points. They got one of the higher totals, too. I think it's about 50 total in this game or so. Their team total is 25, which, there's a couple teams that are 26 or 27, but still puts them up there as one of the highest team totals on the week. So a guy like Jameis Winston is going to be very, very popular this week, and he probably deserves to be. I mean, this is a guy who I would expect a floor of 250 and 2 and upside of 350 and 3. So, this is a guy who's going to put up a big number this week. I like Jameis Winston a lot. Obviously, no one's ever going to argue if you want to put Pat Mahomes in there. Although I will say this, Pat Mahomes' worst game last year did come against the Jacksonville Jaguars, which is kind of interesting if you think about it.
No doubt. That is interesting. I like the Jameis shot right there. I think that's a good call right there, Benny. What about a guy? What about that? What about Ben Roethlisberger in that night game?
Yeah, I mean, again, that's going to be on a different slate. It's going to be on because it's the 8:00 game, but
Sunday, Monday.
Yeah, probably a Sunday, Monday slate. I honestly didn't look at anything other than the main slate, really, because that was the only one that I had lineups already, pre-entered for that I was kind of updating last night. But, yeah, you got to think that Roethlisberger is going to be in a pretty good spot. So they're probably going to be trailing in that game, which means that Roethlisberger is going to probably wind up having to throw the ball. And that's the thing that people need to understand about DFS. Like, when you're playing DFS, you need to understand game script. To me, game script, game flow is even more important than the players that you're taking, right? Like, if you give me the guys in the right game flow to benefit the passing game, and you take the running backs that are in the kind of game flow that benefits the running game, and what we really mean by this is, like, if your team is going to have a lead and you're going to be at home and you're probably going to be playing from ahead, that's usually a game script that benefits running backs. If you're a team that's going to be trailing, which, Vegas expects the Steelers to be trailing the New England Patriots here, you're going to probably have to be throwing the ball a lot more late to try to catch up. So what you really want to do is you want to get your lineup set up so that you can take advantage of the game flow that you expect to happen. So if you expect the Steelers to be trailing, you want to be on the Steelers passing game, because you would think that guys like Juju and, Dante Moncrief or James Washington and Ben Roethlisberger are going to have bigger games in that situation than a guy like James Conner. Conner's going to have his big games when the Steelers are up by 2 touchdowns and they need to run the ball 20, 25 times. This doesn't really set up to be that kind of a game. This sets up as a kind of game where it's going to be high scoring, it's going to be back and forth, and you're probably going to see the Steelers leaning a little more in the passing game. So I do think Roethlisberger is going to be a nice play in that Saturday-Sunday game. That Sunday night, Monday night game. Yeah, that's probably going to be a good spot to play Roethlisberger, because the game flow does set up for him having to throw the ball more than he normally would.
Atlanta Falcons and the Minnesota Vikings. Talked about that one. The Ravens and the Dolphins. Is Lamar Jackson somebody on your mind this week?
He's a guy that I'd play in cash games, right? Like, when you have these running quarterbacks, the thing about these running quarterbacks, they have a very high floor. We talk about it all the time. If you're going to get 50 or 60 yards rushing, again, every 10 yards rushing equals 1 fantasy point. Every 25 yards passing equals 1 fantasy point. So 60 yards rushing is the equivalent of 150 yards passing.
Mm-hmm.
At least in the number of fantasy points that you get for it. Plus, you expect Lamar Jackson's going to throw for, I don't know, at least 150 to maybe 200 yards. So it's basically going to be like you're getting a guy who's throwing for 300 yards here. So I think he has a really safe floor. The problem I have is I don't know how high his ceiling is in this game, right?
He won't explode. He's not going to have a 4-touchdown performance.
Right, and that's, the total in this game is only like 40. So I was going to say not even 40, so look at that. This is not a game where you would expect 4 or 5 touchdowns. Like, you look at the Jacksonville and KC game, that's a game where you just look at the numbers, you work everything out. You're expecting 4 touchdowns from the Kansas City Chiefs. Pat Mahomes is likely to have a hand in at least 2 or 3 of them. You know what I'm saying? You look at a game like Tampa Bay and San Francisco, 50-point total. Both of these teams projected for, 25-plus fantasy points, 3 or 4 touchdowns there. There's a good chance that Jameis Winston's going to have a hand in 2 or 3 of those touchdowns because, the running game just really doesn't do much there. So when you have situations like that, those guys have a higher ceiling. So those guys are going to be the guys that you would rather use in a tournament setting or in a qualifier or, something along the lines of a GPP. Whereas Lamar Jackson is a guy that's a great play for cash games because, even if he has a bad game, he's still going to run for 50 yards and throw for $150 at a minimum. So he's still going to get you like 15-plus fantasy points. He's not going to hurt you. Whereas he may not help you win $1 million this week, but if you're playing in cash games, he's going to be a guy that's going to keep you above that cash line,
Interesting. I would agree with you on that one. As Lamar Jackson, like you said, that floor is crazy high. The Rams and the Panthers. This could be interesting, Benny. Looking at this game, Rams is 3-point favorite on the road. We know the situation with Cam. He's going to be all ready and good to go. Christian McCaffrey, Todd Gurley. Some interesting names in this one. What do you think about this game right here from a DFS perspective?
So one of my favorite GPP plays on the weekend is actually Curtis Samuels. Okay. Because Curtis Samuels, again, we talk about the different price zones that guys are in. Curtis Samuels is in the same price zone as D.D. Westbrook. And D.D. Westbrook, as we talked about, is very likely to be the chalk. So this is going to be a guy that's incredibly highly owned. That means that anybody else that's in the same price range at him is probably going to go lower owned than they should. You have Carolina at home here, which is always nice to see. You have them as underdogs, which means they're probably going to be trailing. Just think about it this way. It's a lot easier for a quarterback at home to put his team in the right position because you don't have the crowd yelling and screaming. You can make your audibles. You can look over and see what the defense is doing. And listen, we've been talking about it all summer long. Curtis Samuels has basically been showing out in, games and in practices and everything like that early in the year. His DraftKings price is $4,200. That's like basically free. A guy at $4,200, if he gets a touchdown, catches like 5 balls for 50 yards and gets in the end zone, he's giving you 4x or more on his return. If he has a big game, if he comes up with a 100-yard game here and gets himself into the end zone, he's going to absolutely smash that $4,200 price tag. So Curtis Samuels is one of my favorites. I think you can look at Cam here if you want. You can add in like a Christian McCaffrey or a DJ Moore or something else with him to give you some upside there. You can look at the other side of this game. I mean, this is another game that's going to be a shootout, and I think it's going lower owned and less talked about than games like KC and Jacksonville and Tampa Bay and San Francisco, which are some of the games that people are, really trying to get at. San Francisco, we didn't talk about either. San Francisco, I think, is a good side of this game to look at too. I mean, it's a pick 'em. There's a good chance that this is going to be a game where they may have to air it out to kind of catch up with Tampa Bay. And the Tampa Bay corners last year were some of the worst in the league at giving up some big plays. So, our boy Deebo Samuels could show out week 1 of this season and win somebody $1 million.
Right off the gate, Deebo. Bye-bye, chump. Detroit and Arizona also could be a shootout. Detroit on the road as a Detroit on the road as a road favorite. Arizona coming in as the home dog. Is it time for Kyler Murray and Air Raid right off the gate, Benny?
So I'm looking at the other side of this game, Corey. I actually like the Detroit side of this game a little more. I like a guy like Kenny Golladay. I don't think he's too expensive here. The thing I want to talk about is like the best way I can kind of explain this Arizona team is to think back to like the Chip Kelly Eagles teams, right? You kind of look at the Chip Kelly Eagle teams. One of the things that you noticed, they were a team that had a lot of turnovers. So the Detroit defense, normally Detroit's defense is not known as a good defense. This is not a team that normally you're going to target at any other point during the season.
Excellent point with the defense.
But I think targeting against this Arizona team, they're going to play fast. There's going to be a lot of plays. If Detroit gets a lead at any point in this game and forces Arizona to have to throw, what you're basically saying is you're taking a rookie quarterback in his first start in the National Football League in a high-paced offense that's going to be going up and down. There's going to be turnovers in that situation just because there's a lot of plays going on. The Detroit defense is one that I have a lot of faith in this week. I think people are sleeping on them. They're pretty cheap. They're under 3,000 on DraftKings here. I think they're 2,900. Detroit defense is definitely something I'm interested in. Like I said, Kenny Golladay is pretty cheap. Marvin Jones is pretty cheap. Kerryon Johnson is kind of in that mid-range price thing, but I don't think he's a bad way to look at it. Matthew Stafford, I think, this is one of the better games for him there. I think you're going to see people targeting against this Arizona team a lot this year, and I don't think it's a crazy idea to go that route. So I agree with you. I think that's going to be another game that there's a lot of fantasy production from. I think it's going to be a game where a lot of people go to. I think most people, though, are kind of talking about the Arizona side of this game, which is why I think the Detroit side has some value for tournaments.
Oh, that's interesting right there. I like it. I'm looking at some of these contest slates right here. Trying to figure out ways to break it up. What do you do for your game selection, Benny?
So I am not a guy who sits there and uses the computer to put together 150 lineups. Now, I have no problem with people who do. Like, there's a lot of people who think it's cheating or whatever. It's not. It's cheating. it's a different mentality that you need to be able to do it. And the guys who are good at it are usually guys that are pretty good at manipulating computers, right? Because what you're basically doing is trying to get the right combinations, and you're trying to get your main core with a whole bunch of different combinations around them, hoping that, some of the value plays that you pick and the other guys you put in with your core wind up hitting. And obviously, whoever your core is are the guys that you really need to go off. So what a lot of people that'll make 150 lineups do is they'll have a core group of guys in the Tampa Bay and San Francisco game. They'll have a core group of guys in Kansas City and Jacksonville. They'll have a core group of guys in Detroit and Arizona. And then they'll mix and match other pieces around them from some of the other games, guys that they like that aren't in those games that are likely to shoot out. Mm-hmm. I usually am a guy who's more of like a 3 to 5 lineup kind of guy. So I'm going to end up making probably 3 to 5 lineups here, and then entering them in various 3 max entry tournaments or 5 max entry tournaments, maybe even some of like the 20 max entry tournaments. I wouldn't mind having 5 and, with other people going up against 20. I don't mind that, but I don't want to go with 1 or 2 lineups up against people who have 150 lineups and some of those entry. A lot of the newer players, if you're out there, if you're not somebody who's playing, like, again, I play a decent amount of money, but I don't even play a big enough bankroll to be one of those guys to go 150 lineups and put it in a whole bunch of tournaments. You need to be playing like $5,000-$10,000 a weekend. I'm more of like a $2,000 or $3,000 a weekend guy, which is why I try to keep it to like 3 to 5 lineups and then put them in some of the higher buy-in stuff. Because if you're playing the $5 buy-in, the $10 buy-in, the $20 buy-in, if you do the math on it, the rate that you're paying is like 15%, sometimes even higher than that in some of these tournaments. When you start getting up into like the $150 to $300 buy-in tournaments, the rate drops down to like 10%. And it doesn't sound like that big a deal. Well, it's 5% of $150. It's like $7. Who cares? But if you're playing 20 tournaments a weekend and you're playing all 17, 18 weeks of the season, you're talking $7 for 20 tournaments is $140. You're playing 18 weeks. Now you're talking about, holy crap, I just gave them an extra, basically gave them like an extra 10 grand, 5 grand of, rake. Whereas if I would have just played a couple less entries in the higher dollar tournaments, I would have had less of a rake to come out. The other thing too is, like, if you play a $20 Millie Maker, there are 400,000 entries in that tournament. If you play the $150 tournament, there's 2,000, 3,000 entries. You could win over the course of a 17-week season in a tournament with 2,000 or 3,000 entries. You're going to have an entry that comes in the top 10 at some point in time if you're putting a couple entries in there. You could play the Millie Maker all season long and put 10 lineups in there and never even sniff a top 5,000 lineup. You know what I'm saying? Like, you might have one lineup that comes in the top 4,000, and even then you're getting like 4 times your money. So it's not really worth it for me. So what I would tell people is you want to play 1 to 3 lineups, and you want to play it in the highest dollar amount tournament that you can afford. Whatever your bankroll is. If you can afford to play the $5,000, big tournament, by all means, go ahead and do it. If your bankroll doesn't mind you losing $5,000, then it's not going to affect you. For the average person, though, like if you're playing $100 a week, I would go into like a single entry, $100 tournament, put a team together that has some kind of correlation to each other, meaning your quarterback and wide receiver and maybe a tight end or a running back on the same team, and then maybe somebody on the other side, hoping you get a shootout where all those guys kind of go off. And then plug in your best values or your favorite plays, whether that be a Tony Pollard or an Austin Eckler if, Melvin Gordon and Ezekiel Elliott don't play, or a guy like D.D. Westbrook who's just underpriced, or a guy like Galladay going up in a, high pace, high total game. That's the way that I would tell people to go about it. And honestly, that's kind of the way I'm going about it. Like the tournaments I've entered already, I've entered a lot of the single entry stuff. I've entered a bunch of the 3 max stuff. I entered some of the higher dollar buy-in queues, like the King of the Beach, $100 buy-in. You can only have 4 entries in it. I have no problem going up against people that have 3 or 4 entries if I only have 1 or 2.
That's not bad.
Yeah, that is something that I feel like we're at least on an even playing field. I don't want to put 10 entries into the Millie Maker going up against 400,000 other lineups and expect to walk away with any kind of profit. The Millie Maker, honestly, is a lottery ticket, guys. Like you're basically hoping that you hit the lottery when you're playing that tournament. So if that's where you're concentrating your money, you're not going to wind up making a profit throughout the season. And the last thing I'll say, Corey, is really cash games may be boring. They're not going to win you. They're not going to win you a ton of money. But if you're trying to stay around and play all 18 weeks of the season and make sure you have money coming in until you do eventually have that big hit where you make $5, $10, $20, $100,000, playing cash games is the way to keep your bankroll from having those huge swings. So I'm going to have about half my money in cash games, half my money in tournaments. Of that half in tournaments, probably 10 to 20% of that is going to be in qualifiers, which is really just lighting money on fire, to be honest with you guys. But, it also comes with some glory and some upside. So that's why I do it.
No doubt. If it works for you, keep it banging. A couple more teams I want to ask you about right quick. I think Odell can get the season off to a good start this weekend, Benny. I think we can see 2 scores from Odell.
I like Odell Beckham, and he was the most targeted wide receiver in the preseason. So I definitely think that the Browns are going to use him. Worry a little bit about game flow in that situation, right? Because I think they could have a lead, which would mean maybe they don't have to throw the ball as much in the second half. And like I said, I kind of like Nick Chubb in that situation because if they're going to be ahead and they're going to have the lead and they're going to be playing from in front, I think there's a good chance that Nick Chubb could wind up putting up a big game there. So not going to have as much exposure to Odell Beckham. But again, I mean, when you talk about the superstars, Corey, like these guys aren't the guys that you got to worry about with volume, right? Like Odell Beckham's going to get his 7 targets no matter what. In the games where they really need him, though, he's going to get 12 or 13 targets. And that's when you really want to play him. But I'm never going to tell you don't play Odell, don't play Julio Jones, don't play – because any week those guys can go off for, 7 or 8 catches, 150 yards, and a couple touchdowns.
Miles Sanders seems like he could be in a good spot. But is it too early in the season to go to Miles Sanders?
Dude, he's one of the hardest guys for me this week because the game flow sets up so well.
It does look that way, right?
Yeah, man. I mean, they're –
this weekend.
What are they up to now? Like a 9.5-point favorite?
9.5.
Yeah, they're a 9.5-point favorite. They're at home. Like, this is a game script that sets up where you would be like, oh, this is a good spot to take the running back. My biggest fear, though, Corey, is that like Jordan Howard's going to end up.
Jordan Howard, yeah.
He's going to end up with like 7. He's going to end up with like 7 carries for 24 yards and a touchdown. Mm-hmm. And you're going to sit there and say, if you give those 7 carries, 24 yards, and a touchdown to Miles Sanders, who may end up with like 14 or 15 carries and 80 yards and a touchdown, you're like, damn, that would have been 110 yards and 2 touchdowns, and he would have been a slam dunk. So that's my biggest fear with Miles Sanders is that they may spread it around to a couple other guys. They may throw a touchdown pass to Zach Ertz or something like that. Like, it sets up so well to be a spot that you want the running back. My biggest problem, though, is that at this point in the season, I don't know if they're willing to just say, this is Miles Sanders' spot and everybody else is just going to kind of spell him. If I knew that was going to be the case, like we know that's going to be the case with Dalvin Cook, right? Like Dalvin Cook's going to get as many touches as he can handle. Nick Chubb is going to get as many touches as he can handle. Chris Carson is probably likely to get as many touches as he can handle. I just have more faith in those guys having a bigger opportunity. And remember, it's all about touches and opportunity. As long as Miles Sanders is splitting some of those touches with guys like Sproles and Jordan Howard, even though the game flow sets up so well for a running back to be the guy in that game, I don't know if it's all going to be one running back that's getting that work,
No doubt. Interesting stuff. We'll be talking plenty of DFS all week long, breaking it down. I'll throw together a couple lineups and have Benny give his opinion on it. So we'll get that done as we move throughout the course of the week, breaking it down, getting you ready for week 1. We want to go to Thursday night right quick, Benny. I want to look at a couple of props on Thursday night. Aaron Rodgers, passing yards, 264.5. Good
defense for the Bears. They should be playing from behind, though. So I do think that that's a pretty good number right there. His offensive line is going to have to protect. I mean, we like all those receivers for him. We've always liked Aaron Rodgers. He's a guy that could put up big numbers. That Bears defensive line, though, puts a lot of pressure. Khalil Mack and the boys over there were a team that caused a lot of turnovers last year. So I think it's really going to come down to the offensive line. But if I had to put money on one side of that, gun to my head, I would definitely take the over for Rodgers passing yards.
Some other interesting ones right here. Our boy David Montgomery, who people were very excited about in draft season. His rushing yards number, Benny, 57.5. But I find that to be very interesting because the fantasy community would say smash that number.
Yeah, that seems a little low to me. It
does.
Again, if you're expecting them –
because these MFers ain't stupid, Benny.
I know, and that's the thing is, you really, at that point, you got to think that they're looking at it as, well, he's a rookie, and maybe they're still going to give Mike Davis some carries and Tariq Cohen some carries. And, I would think that less than 60 yards feels like a low number for a guy who plays on a team that is favored to win a game at home this week.
Yeah, no doubt. So that's an interesting number. I may have to come out there and bet that one personally. Mitchell Trubisky rushing yards sits at 22.5. That's an interesting one right there, too, because Trubisky is a guy who gets it done with his feet also.
Yeah, he can definitely move, and he's definitely going to scramble. It's not so much like they do with Lamar Jackson, where these are like, actual runs that are part of the offense. A lot of Trubisky's rushing yards come from, his first – yeah, exactly. Like his first or second read is not where it is. And then, again, he still has that instinct as a running quarterback that, make my first read, make my second read. Oh, it's not there. Let me get out of the pocket before I get sacked and pick up 6 or 7 yards. And the guy's athletic. I mean, he had some long runs last year. He's had some games where he had some big rushing yard totals. I don't think that's a crazy one either. I'd be interested in that as well. Yeah,
no doubt. It is. Allen Robinson, our guy, Benny, his receiving yards sit at 56.5. I'd rather take the minus 112 on the Montgomery over than the Allen Robinson over.
Yeah, again, you got to think of game flow here, right? Like if you thought that this was going to be a game where the Bears are trailing, then you want to be more on the wide receiver side of things. If you think this is a game like I do where the Bears are probably going to be playing with a little bit of a lead, then you want to be on the running side of things. So I would much rather be on the rushing side if I'm going to be making bets than on the receiving side. I like Allen Robinson. I got a lot of shares of him in, some of my season-long best ball leagues. I'm not expecting this to be the big Allen Robinson week, though. I'm not expecting like 10 catches, 110 yards, and a couple touchdowns like he did in the playoffs.
No doubt. Another very interesting one, Benny. Tariq Cohen, rushing and receiving. Take a guess.
50?
54.5.
I don't think it's crazy. The thing that I like about Tariq Cohen is that
not a part-time player, though, Benny.
Well, he kind of is a part-time player now, right? I mean, he's, at best he's a playmaker. At best he's a 50-50. The thing I want to see though, Corey, and this is what makes week 1 tough, is that we don't really have any tape on a lot of this stuff. So we're kind of making our best guesstimates based on what happened last year and what players were added and the little bit that we've seen in the preseason. I want to see how often both of those guys, him and Montgomery, are on the field at the same time. Because they talked about using Tariq Cohen this year in a slot role. And if they're going to use him in a slot role, I mean, listen, I think he's going to get 15 or 20 yards rushing and 15 or 20 yards receiving out of the backfield. If you're also going to give him 15 or 20 yards, like 2 or 3 catches or opportunities out of the slot, then I think he makes that number easy. If this turns out to be a game where Chicago's winning, though, remember last year, the games that Tariq Cohen had big games, a lot of times were the games where they were trailing, coming from behind, and he was getting a lot of work out of the, we'll call it the third down back roll, where he was catching passes out of the backfield. The games that they were winning and they were ahead, those were the big Jordan Howard games last year. Those were the games where Jordan Howard got a bunch of carries and got a chance to run people over. And those were the games where Cohen had 8 touches instead of the games where he had 12 touches. If you're going to give him 12, 13 touches here, I don't think 54 is going to be a hard number for him to reach. If he's only going to get 8 touches here, you're going to need him to break a big one in order to hit that.
Devontae Adams, 83.5 at minus 112. I like that one.
Yeah, I think it's like plus 170 or something for him to score a touchdown. That was the number I was looking at yesterday. I got to double check. I forget the exact number, but I remember he was plus money to scoring touchdown. Devontae Adams is a guy that Aaron Rodgers loves when they get down towards the red zone. So I like him to score a touchdown more than I really want to mess with his number of catches or his number of yards in this game.
That's interesting stuff right there. Interesting bet. All right, Aaron Jones, final one that we'll look at for this one. Aaron Jones rushing yard is coming in at 56.5, Benny. I would take the same theory you said with Tariq Cohen. Let's see what's going on first.
Yeah, I don't think I want to touch this in week 1. I think I'll stay away from it in week 1. I think Aaron Jones is going to have some big games, though. I don't think Aaron Jones is a bad running back. They do have a tough schedule for rushing. If you look at the expected rushing output of the teams that they play, the defenses that they play this year, Aaron Jones actually has one of the toughest run schedules in the league. I want to say it's either the second or the third toughest. I was looking at the numbers the other day, but I don't remember exactly. So just keep that in mind, especially if you're drafting in season-long situations. I understand why people are a little hesitant about him this year because they face some of the better run defenses in the league. They have a very, very tough schedule for the run, which does benefit the pass game, though, which is why I like guys like Geronimo Allison and, Aaron Rodgers and a lot of that.
All right, no doubt about it. You know what I'm saying? So we'll got all of that stuff coming up for the rest of the week as we lead you up to kickoff right here on the opening line. Benny, betting over the weekend, the bad beat was the Oregon beat. Pretty shitty, Benny, to be honest with you.
Yeah. Dude, all they needed to do was kick a field goal there, and I covered my +4. That's all I needed.
That's like the Warrior Nights. That's the last leg of the parlay.
They could have won. They could have been. They still would have won. They still would have been 1-0. All they needed to do was kick the field goal, but they threw the touchdown pass. Screwed all the bettors. It is what it is.
That's the last leg of a parlay too, Benny. So you know what I'm saying? It hurt even more. We almost had a very big night Saturday night to kick it off. Came back on Sunday, and we had the situation with the field goal at the end of the first half. So the first half doesn't cash, and obviously that field goal comes back again and bites you with Oklahoma as they missed their team total by 2.5 points. Last night, though, we gave it a run on the Louisville +19, what I got the number at. And in the first half, it looked great. I was getting ready to hit it again at halftime at +7.5. My brother-in-law was like, "Nah, don't fuck with Louisville like that." You know what I'm saying? Like, don't do that, son. So I didn't give my man Big Jim Day a call. I let it play out. And boy, was I happy. An 18-point Golden State victory, but I did cover the number by 1. So Louisville gets the ball rolling back again, Benny.
Yeah. I didn't bet much yesterday. I was doing a lot of research, trying to get all my football stuff done because I got a lot of baseball stuff the next couple days. And then, Thursday, you and I are going to be on the live stream over at Elite Fantasy talking about, the Green Bay Packers and the Bears, and then talking a little bit about our weekend stuff. So for those of you who haven't signed up for the Elite Fantasy package, make sure you get over there. You get Corey and I on Thursday night. I think you get Mans and Tommy on Friday night. Sunday before the games, you get Draft Cheat and Brian Healy, two of the best DFS players that I know that are out there. So I'm looking forward to that. If you're going to play some serious DFS and put some decent money on the line, more than a couple $100 a week, the value that you get for signing up for the package. I mean, it's less than $10 a week. You get the insight from some of the guys who've been around and doing this for a while and doing it profitably and, that have made a lot of money. So make sure you get over there and sign up. Plus you get Corey and I every Thursday night sitting here kicking it with you for an hour and, talking some football, which is going to be fun.
No doubt about it. Benny, you got some baseball plays for the day before we get up out of here?
There's not much. A lot of it is -300 favorites here again. The one game that I was kind of interested in, but it's DeGrom against Max Scherzer. So I'm going to watch that game, but I don't want to have any money on it. The games that I like the most, I like the Pittsburgh Pirates today. They have a high projected team total going up against the Miami Marlins, a team that struggles to score. They're like -175. So like you bet $1, bless you. You bet $1, you get like 60 cents on the dollar back, which is nice. It's not great, but it's nice. The other game I have a little bit of interest in is actually Houston against Milwaukee. I'm less certain of that game, though, because the Milwaukee lineup is legit, and any day that lineup can go and just kind of blast off and put up 7 or 8 runs.
No doubt.
So really the Pirates are about the safest bet that I have tonight. So if anything, if I was telling people to bet something tonight, if you were like, yo, I need to make some money today, what do I do? Take the Pirates at -175. You bet 100, you get back like 56, like 55, $60 on it. To me, that's probably the safest play today.
Big piece of chicken. I'm going to give it to. I had the person name in my head, Benny, and it escapes me just that quick. Big piece of chicken. Oh God, gosh darn it, Benny. You go ahead and mine should come to me.
Yeah, so I'm giving my big piece of chicken to Zeke's agent right now because apparently Zeke's agent talked Zeke into, kind of letting him go back and talk to the Dallas Cowboys again to give him a chance to play this weekend. And really, that's what we want. I mean, I have a couple shares of season long. As much as I want to play Tony Pollard in week 1, if Zeke doesn't play, Pollard's going to be like 60, 70% in tournaments. And I hate when we have chalk like that. Like, it makes it not fun because in order for you to really capitalize on it, you either need to be greater than the field or below the field on it. And I can't see myself being below the field on a guy who's 4,500 that's going to get 15 to 20 touches as a home favorite, which means I'm going to have to play 100% Tony Pollard to benefit from it. And I really don't want to play 100% Tony Pollard because everybody else is going to do it too. And now I'm playing 8-on-8 instead of 9-on-9 to try to win big money.
No, and I understand that. And Ezekiel Elliott to be there on Sunday night, I feel pretty confident about that. I want to give my big piece of chicken from over the weekend. I had forgotten Naomi Osaka and how she carried herself in that match in the U.S. Open. I thought that was pretty cool. So there you go right there, Miss Osaka, who is from Nassau County. A lot of people don't realize that.
Really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, she's from Nassau County. She grew up in Nassau County, and she moved to Florida to train. And then when they realized that she had a little bit of heat, they was like, let's move to Japan, and then she can be the Serena Williams of Japan. So that's why she lives in Japan. She's really as American as you can get. You know what I'm saying?
Where'd she go to, like, what is that called, like IMG Academy or something down there in Florida? That thing?
Like that, yeah, yeah. And then that's when they was like, when they realized she was good, she was like, let's go to Japan and become a big star out there. We're not even tripping. And now she gets a chance to become a big star in the U.S. too. Interesting how people raise their kids and put them in spots like that. But I don't care how good my kid is. We ain't moving to Japan or anywhere else. You know what I'm saying, Benny?
I mean, you could talk me into moving to Florida if my kid was that good. I mean, you right outside of Miami, all right, maybe not this week. I'll let the hurricane go by. But after that, I'd be all right with it.
No doubt. All right, for my main man, Benny, is Corey Parson, the fantasy exec. Got a big week coming up. The opening line, we are out.